We're waking up to news of a massive terror attack in France. Over 140 people have been killed in unprecedented terror strikes in Paris. French President François Hollande has ordered authorities to seal the country's borders and a state of emergency has been declared. International media reports suggest that in the first attack, a gunman opened fire outside a restaurant. In another attack, which is the biggest one so far, as many as 100 hostages were killed at the Bataclan concert hall. At least 2 explosions were also heard outside a stadium in Paris during a football match between France and Germany. French President François Hollande was inside the stadium watching the match with the German foreign minister. He had to be evacuated from the stadium. World leaders have condemned the attack, expressing shock and horror. The UN Security Council has also condemned the attack, calling them a barbaric and cowardly act of terror. Let's get a word we're trying to connect to journalists in Paris to try and get a sense of what's happening on the ground. We have Dhananjay on the phone line with us. Thanks so much, Dhananjay, for joining us early this morning. Take us through what's happening on the ground. We believe that a state of emergency has been declared and all international borders have been sealed off.
That's right. As you can imagine, the country is in a state of shock. The attacks took place in areas which are very popular, especially on Friday and Saturday nights. There was a concert hall which is called Bataclan, and at least 100 people have died there, and 3 or 4 terrorists who were involved in the attack have been killed as well. It's been only 10 months since those horrific attacks, the Charlie Hebdo attacks, took place, so it's not been so long that France is experiencing a second major terrorist attack, which has left country in a complete state of shock, and there's so much grief going around. There's so many injured. There's so many dead bodies. I can tell you from my personal experience that a friend of mine was in the vicinity of these attacks, and the way she described, blood was splattered all over the place, and it was really horrifying. As you mentioned, President François Hollande, he has declared a state of emergency. He, along with Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve and Prime Minister Manuel Valls, visited the concert hall where 100 people died. And Hollande, in his address, said that the country is firm and that it will take whatever precautions and necessary measures to ensure that the attackers are brought to justice. As part of state of emergency, 1,500 military personnel have been deployed in Paris, and the international borders have been sealed, and colleges and schools for tomorrow are going to remain shut.
Right, Dhananjay, can you give us a timeline of how it all started? This was a series of coordinated strikes in capital Paris.
That's right. It started in the evening, and I don't know if you saw the clip, but during the France-Germany match, you could actually hear the explosions. So
yes.
The simultaneous attacks took place in the 11th arrondissement, which is the heart of Paris, where all the major pubs are there, eating places are there. People frequent these places quite often, especially on Friday and Saturday. So the attack started there. There was an attack slightly in the northern part of Paris. Then there were attacks outside Stade de France, and there are some reports that the 2 perpetrators, they killed themselves, like it was suicide bombing as well. They detonated the bombs on their bodies. It's not confirmed, but there are reports. And there were other attacks as well around Paris, including the concert hall, where there was a hostage situation first, and then it progressed into the death of 100 people, and then those attackers were finally eliminated.
Dhananjay, please stay on with us. We'll try and listen in to those statements coming in from world leaders condemning those ghastly attacks.
L'état d'urgence, lui, sera proclamé sur l'ensemble du territoire.
The state of emergency will be applied to the whole French territory. I've also decided to close the borders.
Et en même temps que ceux qui auraient pu commettre les crimes qui sont
to make sure that those who've committed these crimes can be stopped if they are trying to leave the territory. It is a terrible event that is upon us.
Qui sont ces criminels? Qui sont ces terroristes?
Who are these terrorists? Who are these criminals? We must, in these harsh moments, think about the victims who are very numerous, for their families, for the wounded. We have to be compassionate and we have to be united and keep a cold head. In the face of terror, we have to be united and we will vanquish these terrorists.
We're going to do whatever it takes to work with the French people and with nations around the world to bring these terrorists to justice and to go after any terrorist networks that go after our people. We don't yet know all the details of what has happened. We have been in contact with French officials to communicate our deepest condolences to the families of those who've been killed, to offer our prayers and thoughts to those who've been wounded. We have offered our full support to them. The situation is still unfolding. This is a heartbreaking situation, and obviously those of us here in the United States know what it's like. We've gone through these kinds of episodes ourselves. And whenever these kinds of attacks happened, we've always been able to count on the French people to stand with us. They have been an extraordinary counterterrorism partner, and we intend to be there with them in that same fashion.
World leaders, they're condemning the deadly terror attacks in Paris that have left more than 140 people dead. A series of coordinated terror strikes are being reported from across Paris. Bombs also going off outside the football stadium where a match was underway between France and Germany. In fact, French President François Hollande was at that stadium watching that football match with the German foreign minister. He had to be evacuated from the stadium. Shooting also was first reported outside a restaurant in Paris. Dhananjay is getting us a sense of the situation on the ground. Dhananjay, you're telling us that there were also some of your friends who witnessed the shooting or heard the explosions. What other news are you picking from the ground?
Well, the latest is that I think 5 attackers have been killed. That's the latest we are hearing from sources. And as far as the attack sites are concerned, first there was the Bataclan concert venue where 100 people died. Then there were 2 restaurants, Le Carillon and Le Petit Comboge. And there was another gun attack in the 11th arrondissement, which is around the center of Paris. And the last attack, or the other attack, took place near Stade de France, where Germany and France were playing. And apparently the German players are still inside the stadium. They have been kept there. And yeah, there are so many horrifying accounts. As I mentioned, one of my friends was in a restaurant close to where the attacks took place. After she heard the gunfire, she just ran away, and after she didn't know what was happening, first of all. And then after an hour or so, she came to know that there's an attack at that restaurant where she was dining. And then she went to other place, and then that place was also attacked later. So she was in a complete state of shock, and it's something, unreal. Like, you never heard of anything like this in Paris before. So it's a complete state of shock, and I think even there's a sense of anger as well that this has to stop. And I guess President Hollande has made a very firm statement saying that these terrorists will be mercilessly tracked down, and they will be, justice will be delivered. So yeah, the country is in a complete state of shock, particularly after it comes just 10 months after a major attack which took place in January.
Thanks, Dhananjay, for that sense of what's happening on the ground. Please stay on with us. We're getting in reactions from world leaders. We heard from US President Barack Obama. We're also being told that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condemned these attacks. Another reaction coming in from Canada. Let's cross live.
Nos citoyens dans les pays à travers le monde. Tout gouvernement a une responsabilité profonde d'équilibrer la sécurité des citoyens avec la protection des droits et libertés et de nos valeurs, et nous allons continuer de faire cela. Pour l'instant, nous n'avons aucune information sur des Canadiens qui auraient pu être victimes de ces attentats terroristes, mais nous allons continuer d'en apprendre plus dans les heures à venir sur ce qui se passe en ce moment actuel à Paris. Et nous allons continuer de travailler avec nos alliés et nos partenaires à travers le monde pour assurer la sécurité de tous. Merci beaucoup.
Waking up to news of a deadly terror attack in Paris. Coordinated strikes being reported from different parts of France's capital. World leaders condemning these deadly terror strikes. The United Nations Security Council issued a statement condemning these attacks, calling them barbaric and cowardly, involving assailants using guns and bombs on several venues, including the National Sports Stadium and a major music venue. In fact, there was a football match underway between France and Germany outside, and there were bombs that went off outside the stadium. The French president was inside the stadium and he had to be evacuated. He was actually watching the match with the German foreign minister. Let's get now from Lavina Tandon, who's with us on the phone line. Lavina, the world waking up to this shocking story emerging from France.
Yes, very, very shocking indeed, Simi. If I just quickly take you through the latest, the last we heard of the death toll was 158. There are various cases, gun attacks, and where France and Germany were playing, suicide attack there. 5 attackers seem to have been captured and dead. State of emergency declared in all across France and borders closed. Belgium has increased border security because they share their borders with France. Also, the German football team still remains inside Stade de France, so let me call that a stadium. Also, some of the people in the concert hall which is Bataclan, that was a music concert hall. An American band was performing there, and there are survivors in that concert hall because they lay on the ground. And the latest statement from François Hollande is that, which he gave outside Bataclan, is that our fight will be merciless against terrorism. We will not lay down quiet and against the abomination and a barbaric act. We won't be scared. That is the message that he wants to convey. We'll be unified in this fight. I must remind that the president was in one of the venues, the stadium, when this attack happened. So very serious series of attacks in 11th and 10th district in Paris.
Right, and Lavina, you're saying that the German football team is still inside the stadium along with others who've still not been evacuated.
Yes, I cannot totally confirm because we hear from some reports that there are still hostages in probably Bataclan. At the same time, we hear that 3 of the attackers were killed in Bataclan. So I won't be totally able to give a confirmed news on that. But yes, 5 of the attackers are dead, and that comes from the police, Paris prosecutor.
Right, and Lavina, there's also a feeling that the attack on Bataclan involved a couple of suicide bombers as well. Is there any clarity on that?
Yes, that not Bataclan, but the stadium.
The football stadium.
France and Germany, yes. That is Stade de France, definitely a wrong pronunciation. I'm sorry about that. But in that stadium, which is, if I'm not wrong, in the 11th district, there were 3 explosions, and it seems to be a suicide attack. All the other venues are gun attacks.
All right, so possible suicide attacks reported from that football stadium where a match was underway between France and Germany. French President Francois Hollande was inside the stadium and he had to be evacuated after those bombs went off outside. In fact, we were playing those visuals out live, Lavina, of that match underway, and the players sort of stopped mid, in the middle of the match and wondering what was happening around them.
Yes, I must just add before I add to that is that American Airlines have delayed their Paris flight, though the borders have been shut. But the news is coming that the French Foreign Ministry has told that the airports would remain open, flights and train services would continue. So though the borders are shut, maybe they are being a high level of vigilance and people are allowed to go out. But some of the airlines, like the American Airlines, have delayed their flights to Paris. Now, talking about the football team, is that what you asked, Simi?
Yes, Lavina.
Yeah, so the football team is still inside. The German team is still inside. And in the concert hall, the people who survived were one who lay on the ground and on the upper levels of the concert hall, and they just hid there somehow. And that's how they survived this attack.
Right, and Lavina, explain to us the time difference. What time is it? Paris time that these attacks first started, and for how long did these strikes go on? Because this is a coordinated. These are coordinated strikes that are being reported from different parts of Paris.
Yes, and I am trying to get a sense of when each one happened. So, but this definitely looks like a coordinated attack. And if you remember, I remember when I covered Charlie Hebdo, we just started thinking, it started from Charlie Hebdo, and then it happened in the kosher shop, and then it happened one more, and we thought that they are different attacks, and we later got to know that all three of them actually knew each other, went to almost the same madrasa at a different point in time, and that is quite shocking. If this looks like a coordinated attack, and this definitely sends a sort of chilling feeling across the spine to say something at this level could be attempted when there's been high alert in Paris and military is on the ground. So I'm sure the people of Paris, rather people of France, don't feel very secure at this point in time, and the police have asked them to stay indoors.
Absolutely. Lavina, you're making a very important point. There was high security on the ground because Paris was getting ready for an international environment conference. We're going to keep coming back to you for more updates.